Hello, Billy here, and welcome to the first video in 2024. It's only taken me about 3 months to do, but I'm here, better late than never. The last video I uploaded end of last year, I think it was, maybe? Yeah, was the HX Stomp Looper setup that I created for my live performances. And although it's been a while since I uploaded that video, people continue to watch it, which I'm very grateful for, and also leave comments. Now, I've done my best to respond to the comments in text form, obviously, but I find that some things I can't really explain well via text, so I thought I'd do a video just to respond and maybe answer a few questions and also elaborate on a few of the things found in the video as well that I might have forgotten. Also, I'll do the typical thing of saying, if you stick till the end of the video, there is an announcement based on the looper setup. Now, if you're like me, I'm very impatient, so I'll just skip ahead. I'll make sure there's timestamps so you can jump ahead, find out what that announcement is, and then come back and watch the rest of the video. So here we go. Let's jump straight into it. I've got the comments here. Now, the first few comments or questions were mostly about the process of the loop, recording, undoing loops and all that stuff. The first question was about how long you can record for. Now, I was wondering, why would somebody comment or ask about this when you can just Google it? And then when I did a Google search, I realized it's very difficult to find the answer. I had to search for quite a long time, but I found the answer, and it's 60 seconds if you're recording a mono signal, and it comes down to 30 seconds if it's a stereo signal. So there are a few limitations with the duration, but I found that when you're looping in a live situation, you don't want to go beyond 60 seconds anyway. Now that we've got that clear, let's move on to the next comment. Eloaso23, I hope I pronounced that correctly, says, hey, I tried creating one exactly like yours and it seems to not play anything after recording and stopping. Also, I downloaded your version to see if it was me. It still didn't work. I'm guitar directly into Focusrite interface to get sound coming out of my KRK speakers. So I presume the guitar is going into your HX Stomp and then that one's going into your Focusrite. Now, there's a few things that could be happening here. I'm not saying that you have done this, but I've definitely done this in the past where I've confused the output of the HX Stomp as my input. So I've plugged in my guitar into the output of the HX Stomp and then taken the input as an output into my audio interface. Hopefully you've not done that, because it sounds like you've downloaded my version as well, and it's probably not the case. So the question I would have is, do you get sound in any case without recording? So is it that you can get sound going into your audio interface, but when you try to record, it's not happening? That might be the case where it's maybe the placement of the looper. It could be your stomp pedal that has an issue. Let me know if you watch this in the comment section. I'm happy to help you out with that if you still have that issue. But yeah, make sure that your inputs and outputs are correct. I know it sounds like a silly thing, but it does happen. I'll admit that. But yeah, see if that works. If not, it might be a pedal issue. There were a lot of questions about whether you could save the loop that you've created and the layers of the loop that you've created, and unfortunately you cannot. So the HX Stomp is primarily a amp simulation. Its focus is on recreating classic sounds and having multiple effects. So its main focus is not being a looper. It's nice that it has the looper setting in it, but it's very basic. So you can't save any, presets as a looper, unfortunately, so you have to recreate everything from the beginning. So it's something to think about, especially if you don't have one and you think of buying one and you really need the looper settings. Another comment from Pixelot1, I love that username. They say, when deleting a recorded loop, the first second or two of the loop plays audibly while the button is held down to delete the loop. Is this normal, or is there a way around that? With the setup that I created, I did not include the undo function, mainly because I thought I wouldn't need it and I wanted to practice in a way where I didn't have something to depend on, like if I made a mistake. So try to force myself to practice as much as I can and get things as tight as possible. However, when I was creating the preset, and I remember experimenting with different setups, one of them had the undo setup in there, but unfortunately, in order to not accidentally undo things, they do have that function where you have to press and hold to undo something. And it does, if you're in the playback mode, it will keep playing your last recorded, let's say, loop until the delete function takes place. So unfortunately, it is kind of not necessarily flimsy. It's just one of those things, like, to avoid accidentally hitting a stomp and then deleting something that you really needed in the loop, they make you stomp and hold to delete or undo. So this next question is from Dan Harrison Music, and they were asking if it's possible to reset the looper when going into a new song, or is it just the case that you have to stop the old loop and start a new one like you would do by pressing the record button? And you're absolutely right, it is the second thing that you mentioned, that when you want to reset the loop or recreate a new loop, you just stop the one that you created and then you just hit the record button and it automatically erases the previous one and you start a new one. So hopefully that clears that up. I'm not sure how else you'd want to use it. I'm just trying to think about what the context of the question was. Maybe you had something else in mind. Let me know in the comment section if you watch this. But yeah, unfortunately you have to stop, hit record again, and then starts from the beginning. And that's something that you want to be careful when doing live stuff, that you don't accidentally stop the recording and hit record and then you're like from the beginning all over again. So another question and comment that kept on popping up in this video was the fact that the third foot switch sometimes was stuck on tap tempo and tuner. And Jimbo here says, "Hi, I tried to do this, but I'm seeing the preset up and down and the tap tuner for foot switch 1, 2, and 3. When I look in the preset, I see the foot switch settings in your video. Is there a global setting I missed?" And thankfully, there was another guy that commented, Iverson, and they mentioned the whole steps of how you can fix this. So thank you very much for that. But I'll just go through it in this video as well, just so to kind of clarify how to go about it. If you see that in my case, the foot switch 3 is set to whatever I want it to set to. And the way you get to that point is you want to go into your settings. So you click left and right, scroll over to the right, and make sure you go into your global settings. In your global settings, you want to make sure that usually you start, this is your starting point. So you want to make sure that you go into where it says foot switches, and then the middle button is where you can set the foot switch 3 function. Usually by default, it's set to the tap tune, and if I set it back to the original one, you can see it's starting to blink, it's showing me the tempo. So all you have to do is just go one over, turn that over, oops, and it goes to Stomp 3, and now you can set it to any function you want. So once you've done that, you want to go back into your settings, and then you can go into your command center, I believe it is, yeah. And then you can scroll over to, usually it starts in the very beginning. So then you would scroll over to where it says foot switch 3. And as you can see, I've set it to looper, and then I can adjust with the middle knob which function I want. I've got it to press and release, and then the third knob is the function. So you can set it to stop. I set it to play and stop, just because it works for what I want to do. But that's how you'd go about it, and that's how you want to set it up, and especially if you're stuck in the tap tempo view. Hope that helps, and let's move on to the next comment. So this next comment is from a user whose name I'm not going to even attempt to say because I'm going to butcher it, but they say, "Hey man, I tried this today, total noob here. Don't worry, I was a noob as well. I still am sometimes. Before this, I could switch presets by pressing the stomp buttons. Now that's gone, not a big issue. That tends to happen because of the limitation of the HX Stomp. I got the looper to work, but that third foot switch stays and says tap tuner." So just follow the steps that Iverson has included as well. And if you follow the video, you should be set for that. So the reason why I wanted to bring up this comment is because of the preset changing issue. And this is a nice segue into the announcement that I was going to make, and that is that I've got a new looper setup coming out soon. I'll probably call it Looper 2.0 or something like that. But it sort of solves the issue of switching presets, or the issue of wanting to have more control over your sound. So if you wanted to add overdrive and stuff like that. It is an expansion on what we've already got, and it does require some extra components, but I'll include that all in the video, and then you can see if it works for you. But yeah, so if you want to find out when that video comes out, make sure you hit that subscribe and notification button, and it should be out by next week, hopefully, if everything goes well. If everything goes to plan, it's next week. Also, if you have downloaded the previous Looper setup, you will be one of the first people to find out when that preset is available. It will be up on Gumroad. Links will be in the description. It will be for free. You have the option of donating, but you don't have to. This is for educational purposes and also for helping other musicians in their live sets and all that stuff. If you want to be one of the first people to find out about the preset, make sure you head over to Gumroad, download the previous Looper setup, and then that way you'll be in the newsletter for the latest one as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and until next time, take care.